David, hello. Nice to see you. Did you enjoy the snow? Were you training in the snow this morning? Or?
Yes!
Yeah.
It was funny to see the Brazilian in the snow.
yeah. I don't think they'd probably see the funny side of that, would they? But if we can, we'll just dive straight in with sort of the squad fitness news. Josh Sargent, I think we saw some footage from the club earlier in the week. Looked to be out in the grass, but how is he in terms of this weekend on Sunday?
No, full in contention. So he trained the last couple of sessions with the team full. He will be in the squad for tomorrow.
Okay. Talking of footage as well, I mean, just put the conspiracy theorists at ease because there was no Gabby Zara in those pictures. Is there any issue at all with that?
So these were pictures early of the week. So Gabby was ill and he didn't train on Monday and on Tuesday, but he is back in training since Wednesday as well. So Johnny Rowe is in training at the minute, apart from Kieran Dowell and the long-term injuries which we had when I already arrived. Everybody is healthy, fit, and as well ready for the squad. Even if I have to say that Johnny Rowe will take a few weeks more or a couple of weeks more. He is in training, he looks good, but I think we have to be careful with him. I like to give him more game time for the under-21 if possible as well. But he is on a very good way.
I was going to ask you about Johnny Rowe because, unless I misunderstood, you sort of suggested maybe pre-Millwall there might be a game he could play in early part of this week. I mean, was that not the case then, like a practice game, 21s game?
Oh, no, then maybe it was a misunderstanding. So he's now with us in training since 3 weeks with this first 45 minutes in the under-21. Then unfortunately last week under-21 game got cancelled where he should have played. Now we look forward that probably on Monday is the game of the under-21 where he then can get some further minutes, which I prefer that he will get. At the end of the day, we have to look from day to day as well how the rest of our players looks like. At the minute, we look pretty strong in terms of numbers in the offensive position. This means we obviously can give him a little bit more time, which he for sure needs as well.
Just on the longer terms, I mean, you said it doesn't pay to give any timelines on Sam Byram or Poiheta, but Isaac Hayden, is he just, as you said originally, if it's going to be availability, we're probably talking back end of this season. Is he still progressing on that timescale?
We hope so, but everything what I would say now would not be serious. So he is in every day. I've seen him in the canteen an hour ago, and he works hard, but it's not serious to say anything regarding a exact time frame. This is too early to name anything.
Obviously, the club have confirmed this morning that Alan Russell has mutually left. You didn't really want to get drawn on that after the Millwall game. More so in terms of moving further forward now, will you be looking to bring anybody in externally to the group of coaches you've already got in that area, set pieces?
Not now. During this season. We will assess this in the summer, but Yuzi already took the lead in the last couple of weeks for the Millwall game. He has done it with me in Huddersfield as well. He took the lead for the set pieces in Huddersfield. And at the end of the day, this was a moment where Alan and us, we agreed that we move forward and that we part-time, and this is how we've done it. And now Yuzi takes the lead till the end of the season.
Okay. Just obviously we're here for Sunderland, but just because it was such an impressive comeback at Millwall, just a couple of reflections on that. I mean, where do you rate in the 9 league games you've had now in charge of this group of players? Where does that Millwall, because of the opponent, because of their home record, because you fell behind in the game, where is that in terms of an overall performance in that 9? Would you put that right at the top so far?
I don't like to rate victories higher or less high. I think this is not fair because at the end of the day, we had to fight for every single point so far. And obviously, it was a huge win. We don't have to underestimate it. They haven't lost since September. They've just beaten Sheffield United at home, draw against Burnley. They were on a very good run as well. We felt behind. It was first time nearly sold out since, 10 years, 15 years. Atmosphere was like it should be in a home game. Very intense. And we came through it deservedly, I have to say, or I can say, I'm happy to say, because we scored 3 wonderful goals, we created opportunities, we played good football under pressure, and in the last 10 minutes when we really had to dig in, the boys have done it in a great way. And obviously this gives confidence. This is not a shadow of a doubt, and it should be. But at the end of the day, we only got 3 points, and it doesn't mean that we start with 3-0 up on Sunday. It starts with 0-0, and we have to make sure that we again are very, very focused on us to make sure that we can bring our best to collect the next 3 points, which we will fight for and work for as hard as we can.
As you say rightly, you both sides of the game, the quality of the goals you score, both individually and the team ethic in the set pieces. But as you rightly also say, that last 10 or 15 minutes, there's a lot of teams probably would have buckled in that aerial bombardment, balls coming into the box. Your players stood up and came through that. I mean, is that almost between now and the end of the season? Now that almost has to be the template, or do you feel no, this group are actually capable of raising the bar again and improving on what they showed at Millwall?
No, this was on a very high level. Against Millwall away, this was on a very high level. But I wasn't surprised about it. I think when we were down against Hull at home, the players reacted very well. When we, against Wigan, didn't play good in terms of ball possession, at least we really fought and had with Gani an excellent goalkeeper, which we had against Millwall as well. Which we need if we like to be on our successful run. They have done it in this difficult games, difficult circumstances, in a period of games as well. Obviously, because it was such a extraordinary game with everything what we've heard before, haven't won against the top 10 Millwall, unbeaten since September. It got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then the guys have done it in a brilliant way. What is good, what is great, and everybody was allowed to be happy, but only for 2 days. And since Monday, since we met us again, it was only focused on Sunderland, because we have another big challenge in front of us at home, in front of our home crowd, where we were with 3 wins in a row in the past. Where we like to get the next win, where we have to make sure that before the first whistle there is a very special atmosphere that everybody knows and feels, okay, the Canaries have a real chance now to make the 4th win in a row, and we have to have the energy from the stands. We really need it. I said this from the really beginning, but now it's a moment, I think, where as well our stands have to make sure that they are there from the first second.
And I know, as you always say, when asked about what do you think of the opponent or the type of challenge, it's about you and what your players do on the day. But is there any part of your planning thinking they've come off the back of a very heavy defeat, and inevitably human nature, those players will want to respond and prove that they're not those players who were on the end of a 5-1 last weekend?
I'm 100% sure you have seen the games and the goals. So Sunderland, they conceded 5, but 2 set pieces, and then they opened up and they conceded counter-attack goals. So this was not a 5-1 defeat, to be fair, even if it was result-wise. So it's a very, very interesting team. Everything what I've seen from them, a very good footballing team. They like to dominate the ball. They like to have the ball. They play good technical football. Young squad, a lot of energy, which they have. Play with freedom. So they are where they are for a reason. And this means before the last 3 games, they were clear challenging and they were in the top 6. So we don't look on the results which they've had recently. We know that this is a strong side, a very good team, where we have to be on our best. But we know as well, if we do what we can do, if we play with the energy, with the intensity which we can play, if we get support from the stands, which I think this group of players deserve to get from the first second, then I know as well we have everything to be competitive and that we can collect the 3 points, which we desperate like to have. and this is what we have to show from the first second as well.
I mean, do you see now, contrasted to when you first came through the door and the situation you inherited, can you really see that edge almost looking into your players' eyes and that they want it and that they believe they can go on and have a very successful end to the season? Is that built almost, that momentum, that confidence with winning games, with playing well, every training session? Can you see that now in this group?
Listen, of course I feel and I can see that with more time which we have together and with successful periods in our games, with results as well, positive results, that everything starts to get with more harmony, with a better understanding, with doing the right in the right situation, the right things. This happens at the minute. I can see and I can feel this. This is not a shadow of a doubt, but this doesn't mean it automatically is there again. So we really have to work for it, and this is my job to remind everybody to do it. Obviously, we have a situation where luckily we have a lot of healthy players in good form. So Christos came in, scored, Marquinhos came in, scored, Nacho came in, scored, Lungi came in, scored. So we have a situation where we have competitiveness more or less in every position, and everybody of them has a right to ask for the starting shirt. This is the truth. Obviously, not everybody will start on Sunday, but we have 3 games in a week. I said this very at the beginning. Everybody is invited to leave his ego on the car park, and this is now exactly the time where this counts. So when you get asked, deliver as a starter, as a sub on Sunday. On Wednesday it can look totally different, and not because you're not deserved to start, because the tactical decision is at this game maybe a different one. And this was the reason why Lungi came in and Marquinhos start the game before, or Christos came in, or Nacho come in, and how they reacted, how they have done it was great. And this is the one thing we have to continue, and I ask and I challenge my players that they do, if they get asked, to do exactly what is important to perform on the level where they are capable of to perform, and invest everything for the team. And this is what they have done in the past, where we for sure had a few bigger injury concerns like we have at the minute. But this doesn't mean it automatically happened. Everybody has to be switched on again on Sunday, and as I said this before, hopefully with a great support from the stands.
Okay, just a couple more if I can. I mean, you mentioned him there, Lungi. I mean, you talked very warmly about his performance after the game. You talked very warmly about his impact around the group as well before it. There's one thing maybe we don't look at too much, is that he also, as it did on Saturday last, it allows you to get maybe Gabby Zara a little bit further forward, and we know, and he showed it obviously with the winner, but his ability in and around the area in terms of goals and assists, and with Sorensen in there as well, that's all part of the equation, isn't it, moving forward?
Yeah, so he is now a proper option for the starting shirt for sure. He needed his time, we gave him his time, he worked very, very hard. He now had 2 starts, 2 different positions, played both times very well, and he is one of the guys for sure. He deserves to start the next one. If so, we will see. If not, I'm sure the next game is just around the corner, and then he will be there. He is so smart and such a good character, such a reliable boy as well. Even if everybody has to be desperate to start every game, this is not what I meant. Everybody should be, but if you get not selected as a starter and you come in, you have to make sure that you are as well on fire and deliver 100% for the half an hour, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, or then at the next game when you then probably start.
And a guy who has started regularly for you, Onel Hernandez. I know you're very keen to whatever's gone on in the past. It's not really your concern, you wasn't here, but his assists now, since he started working with you in these last 4 or 5 games, comparable to, you know, a quite a bigger portion of games in a Norwich shirt, you know, chalk and cheese. I mean, is that anything, have you actually just asked him to do anything, simplify his game, or, you know, what advice have you imparted to him? Because as I say, now this version of Onel Hernandez, in terms of his producing assists, his scoring goals as well, I don't think we've seen this over this body of games throughout his entire Norwich career.
At the end of the day, it's the truth that I don't know what was beforehand. Obviously, I hear that his numbers were not great. This isn't the case since we came in the building. So it's top class. I think we have a lot of work with him to do, fitness-wise, that he is able to produce it from first to final second, 3 games in the week. This is not where we are at the minute, and it needs time. He's totally open to produce or to progress. Defensively, we have a lot of conversations about his defensive work, his responsibility for this. This is as well something where he likes to learn, to adapt and to progress, and obviously using his left foot, which is much more better than the one or other things, and maybe he thought as well. This were the 3 areas where we had clear conversations, what my expectations are. And as I said this before, when you meet open-minded people, players who work hard, then normally you get your reward, and he deserved all this praise, but it counts for him like for us. Everything what was in the past or what is in the past, leave it in the past. Make sure Sunderland you deliver again, and I know that he's hungry and desperate to do it like we all together are. Thank you.
Hey David. That tees up quite nicely for the first question I've got here. I was wondering if you'd asked Stuart whether he could make sure Ronell was here next season.
This is a conversation where we said, Stuart and I, we will sit together in the international break and make our head around the one or other individual, and obviously the players who are in our club and the contracts on down are one of them. This doesn't mean automatically we will make the decision then, but for sure we sit together then and discuss one or other individual. And yes, I think after what I've seen so far, you can't ask for much more from a winger like he produced at the minute. But nobody should forget, we have so many important things now in front of us. We should make clear that this doesn't disturb us, individual situations. I think we all together work on a bigger picture than individual situations at the minute.
Brilliant. How tricky is it, that balancing act with a player who's very attacking minded, but you're trying to coach in the defensive side, especially when they've played the roles for a long period. Ronell's not at the very start of his career, because you obviously desperately try not to take away from the key bits that they offer going forwards, whilst also those duties as well. Must be such a balancing act.
To be fair, this is one of the things which I really like to do, maybe because I was an offensive player who was not able to defend as well. I have no idea, and I know how to have to treat him. But with Kieran, for example, we have a little bit a similar conversation, even if it's another type of player. But there were as well some similarities in terms of where you really can improve your game and can come to another level, and this was as well the defensive part of the game. So in general, to have so good offensive attacking minded quality players and to treat them and to teach them how to defend and what it needs to come on another level, this is something I like to do. This is something what I really like to do.
I'm going to go back and watch some of your clips now. When you were playing, see if I can.
Don't do it.
I appreciate you've already spoken about the situation with Alan. Obviously, he was brought in by the club as their set-piece coach, so that was before your time. But it feels like there's still a gap in terms of what has actually happened since you came in for it to end with the two parties separating.
I don't like to go in any details. At the end of the day, as I said, both parties agreed to go part-time, and we wish him all the best for the future, and we both move on.
Okay. With there was obviously a degree of more creativity with the set pieces at Millwall, and I always look at it, and you can see some teams. I think there's a team in Turkey who are coached with these almost ridiculous set piece routines from free kicks and corners. Do you see that as a real area where teams can be hugely creative in terms of what they do? I sometimes feel like clubs don't make the most of that sometimes, or they can be too formulaic?
Now, obviously, the special thing on a set piece is you dictate when and how the situation starts, nobody else. This is the special thing on a set piece. And obviously then there are, I don't know how many different scenarios which you can create. And
Is that as an attacking team?
as an attacking team, yes, exactly, as an attacking team. And obviously defensively, yeah, the biggest thing is to defend your goal, and then it makes sense that you win the first contacts more often. Then the percentage to defend your goal is much more higher. I think it's a very interesting challenge, a very interesting task, set pieces offensively and defensively, where there is big improvement possible. So 20 years ago, it was maybe the goalkeeper coach, where we, at my times, not a lot of football clubs had it. Then it were the sports science, then nutritionists. So, and I think set pieces play such a big part. Everybody knows it, but that we started to get specialists in this area who really are only focused on this. This is now, I think, the last 3 or 4 years more common.
And is it fair to say that actually the beneficiaries, in a way, from what you did at Millwall, are the next opponents? Because now they've seen, Sunderland will be well aware of what you've done set pieces wise there, and they'll adapt it. And almost your task is to mix it up so that whoever comes down the line, they know that you've got one threat, they've got the other threat, you've got
Nobody knows. Maybe we do it 2 times in a row. No, obviously this is what I said. There are different opportunities, different ideas, and then, as I said after Millwall as well, there's one thing: you can have the best idea as a set piece coach and work with the players on the grass and on video as well, and then the execution is not good enough, or the opponent reads it for whatever reason, and then it doesn't work. But at the end of the day, it's about, and there is where you're absolutely right, to mix it up, to be very able to have an idea what can work, and then work on it. The same as a manager. Not every idea which you have works out, not always, hopefully more often, and this is the same for a set piece coach as well.
Fantastic. Cheers, David. Thank you.
All good? All right.
Thank you.
Everybody.